This is Valley News Live at 4.
Welcome to Valley News Live at 4. Well, the North Dakota Highway Patrol had a busy day today as multiple spinouts and crashes were reported due to the weather and ice on the interstates. Now, at least 5 crashes have been reported on I-94 West near the Valley City area, and another 5 going on I-29 North towards Grand Forks. Before a closer look at what exactly we're seeing in our neck of the woods, just take a look at those flags. Lots of wind out there. For the very latest, let's send things over to meteorologist Jim Gash. Jim?
That's right, Bobby. We have had some pretty messy weather across the area today, and just take a look down at our Dakota Magic Skycam. That wind is howling and blowing some snow about. We saw some flurries there just a little bit ago, but it looks like it's stopped for the time being, and we do have that first alert weather day on tomorrow, on Tuesday, particularly for some early morning snow, which will cause that morning commute to be a little bit tricky. Now, taking a look at that satellite and radar right now, we do have some rain and even some thunderstorms for folks near the Twin Cities, but a little bit closer to us, we're dealing with pretty persistent band of snow for folks in the James River Valley, and that's gonna be pretty persistent throughout much of the afternoon and even into tomorrow morning a little bit. Here we are at 4 p.m. and we're dealing with some pretty nasty roads across the area, particularly in our North Dakota roadways, as well as a little bit into northern South Dakota. We're seeing a bunch of covered roads there with snow and ice, and then all the way up on the international border we're dealing with some pretty covered slippery roads for folks there because they saw some freezing rain for a lot of the day today. Now, we do have a few snow reports, not all that many. Milner just 2.5 inches, as well as Straubville here in Fargo, just under an inch of snow. And we're going to have a break in that snow at least until about 10 o'clock before another wave moves on in. But of course, we're going to be dealing with those clouds throughout the afternoon and into the evening. And temperatures are going to be pretty steady, decreasing just a little bit by about midnight where we'll hit that 20-degree mark. So, Bobby, I'll have more information about what we expect with that snow to continue tomorrow coming up soon.
All right, perfect. Jim, thank you so much. I'll talk to you in a few more minutes. Well, a break is on the way for storm-hit California, but they will have to endure one final round of bad weather. One more storm system will hit the state as early as Wednesday before storms move out later in the week. A line of storms has killed 19 people since the Christmas week, and in the state, around 8 million people are still under those flood watches, and thousands have been forced to evacuate after atmospheric river events left whole neighborhoods looking like lakes and looking like this. Well, we have new information on a fire that happened in Fergus Falls. Now, fire officials say that flames erupted in a garage that was attached to a licensed child care. Fergus Falls fire crews responded to the fire just before 9 a.m. and they say that the children and the care provider were able to exit the home safely and they were not hurt. Officials say that one of the homeowners spilled gasoline while working on a small engine in the garage, and the fumes were rapidly ignited by a running propane heater that was on the floor. Crews were able to put out the fire within 15 minutes on arrival, and estimated damages to the garage are around $60,000. The adult working in the garage did suffer minor burns. And New Before Cass County deputies say that one man was taken to a Twin Cities hospital after suffering a serious injury during a snowmobile race. Now, they say that the crash occurred yesterday afternoon just before 2 p.m. in rural Lake Shore, Minnesota. Now, the 26-year-old man was riding in the Nowissa 100 snowmobile race event and had crashed on the race course. Medical aid was immediately given by a number of agencies that were staging at the event. The death toll from a Russian missile strike on an apartment building in southeastern Ukraine has now risen to 40. This as rescue workers scrambled to reach those survivors that were in the rubble. Officials say about 1,700 people lived in the apartment building, and the reported death toll made it the deadliest attack in one place since September 30th of last year. Now, the Institute for the Study of War, which is a Washington think tank, reported that signs of the Kremlin are taking steps to turn up its Ukraine invasion into a major conventional war after months of embarrassing military reversals. A former Minnesota police officer is accused of having sex with a 16-year-old, 22-year-old Timothy Morgenstern is charged with criminal sexual conduct with a minor while in possession of authority. Now, he's also charged with the use of a minor in a sexual performance. In a criminal complaint, the student reported that the two developed a relationship at Rochester High School, where Morgenstern worked as a coach, and that the two exchanged inappropriate messages and videos and had sex. He had been employed by the Rochester Police Department for less than a year, but was fired when the department learned of the accusations. Well, today is Martin Luther King Day. For many, it's a day of service in honor of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., who was assassinated on April 4th of 1968 for his work to end racism and bring equality to all Americans. Priscilla Huff has more on Dr. King's legacy.
Nobel Peace Prize winner, civil rights icon, beacon of hope, all phrases used to describe the late Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. Dr. King led America in a fight for equality and justice with a commitment to nonviolence. He fought for voting rights and desegregation. He led mass demonstrations such as the Montgomery bus boycott in 1955. In 1963, roughly 250,000 people marched on Washington and listened to his iconic "I Have a Dream" speech. But it was the 1965 march from Selma to Montgomery that truly grabbed the nation's attention. It was actually a series of marches. The first stopped with police dogs, fire hoses, tear gas. Americans watched the televised brutality in horror. When tens of thousands of people marched to Montgomery, Alabama 2 weeks later, Washington was forced to act, and President Lyndon B. Johnson signed the Voting Rights Act in August 1965. Dr. King was assassinated in 1968.
And he would have been 94 years old yesterday. Well, a celebration is being held in Fargo tonight in honor of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. It will be held at the Fargo Theater from 6:30 p.m. to 8:30 p.m. and all are welcome to attend. Moorhead Business is looking to expand to West Fargo. The West Fargo City Commission will consider an incentive for Vanna Adventure vans at the City Commission meeting tonight. Now, the company builds and manufactures vans into a camper, workstation, or mobile home. People can rent the vans or get one custom built. Vanna Adventure Vans is requesting a 5-year pilot incentive worth more than $140,000 to expand to West Fargo. They say the expansion would create approximately 30 jobs and bring new business to the city. The Economic Development Advisory Committee unanimously voted to recommend approval of the proposed project at their meeting in December. Tonight's City Commission meeting starts at 5:30 p.m. And while Vikings fans are still coping with the wild card weekend loss, there's another team that we can all root for, and it all started out originally with a bunch of rescues. John Lawrenson takes us on the trail.
On a clear, crisp winter morning,
Good girls.
commands like Ha and G echo through the winter air.
Stay ha. Blue ha. Misa ha. Good girls.
For these Siberian Huskies, those words mean left and right, and it's all the encouragement they need during the dog days of winter.
As soon as I pull those snow hooks, pull the anchors, the quick release, we're off and running. You don't hear a sound out of them. All right,
Jack Christopher is the owner of Silent Run Adventures and the leader of this pack. He gave up a desk job for a sled
I'd much rather do this.
and companionship.
Oh, we didn't forget you. I built my first dog team basically out of rescues. They're very friendly. They do great with people. Some of them are a bit shy.
Just not when they're ready to go.
Yeah, put her on the second spot there.
Jack now has 26 Siberians. Some weigh 80 pounds or more.
All right, hey, go on, hike it up, hop, hop.
Their strength and durability allow them to trek through Arctic conditions, though this team spends much of its time on Minnesota lakes.
The #1 mushroom rule is always dogs first, so they always get watered and fed before I do.
Jack has plenty of help with that.
This is my guy Rocket. He is a rescue. I rescued him back in March.
Stephanie Dreyer is a self-proclaimed emotional support human for the dogs.
The bond that we're making, working together out on the sled, it's something else.
The girls!
Proof that the phrase man's best friend applies, even on the frozen tundra.
I want them to see how much the dogs love what they're doing. They get very excited to go.
John Lordson, CBS News, Monticello, Minnesota.
John, thank you. Well, coming up on your news at 4, ending the limit of medicine being purchased, what Walgreens is now doing about children's fever medicine.
And we're continuing to see a pretty pesky band of snow hanging out in the James River Valley. And elsewhere, that snow is dissipating. And I'll have details about what we can expect with that snow tomorrow coming up in just a few minutes.